Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, 9 o'clock Tuesday, and there's a lot for us to discuss, surprisingly. I think a lot of people woke up this morning to the news that Jaden Rashada is set to sue Florida, Billy Napier, and listen, I know that I might have some legal background. I have no idea what the hell is going on. We're going to talk about it. Jake, how you doing today?
Dude, I'm good, man. We were just chatting behind the scenes as everybody kind of rolls in this morning. Good morning to the chat. Good morning to everyone who joins us. If you didn't catch it last night, we had a fun evening over at the Round the Table Sports. We had a fun evening. I mean, me and Sean got into it deep afterwards here at Bama Football on YouTube. And then we capped the night off, or at least I capped the night off over on Coach Smook Network. If you didn't catch that, I was over, jumped in on that. We had me and Smook had some fun too. Me, Coach Sean J. Me and you were on early in the morning. We had a hell of a day yesterday. It felt like it was just a day of streaming. So a lot of fun. But dude, we were just talking about this with Sonic. What's the morning go-to though for everybody? That's what get me thinking about this guy. I was like, if you could pick one place to go for a morning breakfast,
McDonald's.
Breakfast is like yours is McDonald's.
Bro,
100
McGriddles,
yeah.
I would do unspeakable things for McGriddles.
Fucking unspeakable things. That's
unspeakable.
Damn. Holy jeez, dude. I mean, what do you get there? Like when you go, what do you get?
McGriddle.
Oh, you're the McGriddle guy.
Yeah. I'm going to get it because I don't eat McDonald's any other time of the day. Right. I just want their breakfast, and it's going to be a sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddle.
Man, okay.
And if I have enough points, then I also get a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit.
Bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, man. Bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit's pretty good. For me, dude, I'm a big breakfast guy. Granted, the funny part is halftime. I don't even eat breakfast. Like I don't even eat till later in the afternoon. Pretty weird, like my eating habits and schedule. I don't know if I need to like go see a nutritionist or do something special for it. You know what I'm saying? But, dude, I see some of you in here. Kevin Lynch, Rocketown, Todd Tipton. What's up, dog?
Pete,
what's up?
Todd.
Oh,
Pete. That's the PG thing.
You fraternity brothers.
Yep.
Fraternity brothers.
No, but the reason we got started on this, ladies and gentlemen, is I came in right before we were getting into the show, right? Mm-hmm. And I do get a cup. The biscuits, they are good. Let's be honest. First off, a breakfast biscuit's always nice, right? I don't know. Biscuits are amazing. But the reason all this started is because this morning I was sitting here and I was like, okay, I'm going to go get breakfast before we go on this show.
Uh-huh.
So I check out, I really like Taco Bell's breakfast, but I don't like the Cinnabons, right? Like I've cut out so much sugar in my life that now anytime I have anything like overly sweet, it just wrecks me. I have a terrible mouthfeel. I gotta instantly brush my teeth. And normally I do, Alabama Nation. Normally every morning I have an omelet with sauteed spinach, bacon, right? Like the whole 9 yards and some grits. But, once I do that every so often, I get tired of doing the dishes. And I'm not like the cleanest cook. I'm not going to lie to you.
Do you guys have a dishwasher?
I do. But it's just a few things. So I don't want to just run the dishwasher for 4 pans. You know what I mean? And I'm not the cleanest cook, but I keep a very clean kitchen. And so then I have to clean up afterwards. And so about once a week, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go get breakfast. But the reason we started on this kick, ladies and gentlemen, I have a beef with all of these places before we jump into
I didn't give you my breakfast.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Damn, we're jumping right into it this morning, guys. We're getting after no, real quick. I'll give you guys mine. I have to say, I love a good Chick-fil-A breakfast. I just think their breakfasts are legit. And I love, I'm a big hash browns guy. So their little hash browns, little circular hash browns are awesome. That's the biggest thing for me because they got the perfect little crisp to them. Anyways, screw my breakfast. We're getting back to what Ty had to say.
Well, no. And I apologize, but
no, kidding, dude. You know that.
This fires me up, right?
No, I know it does because it has to do with the law. Everybody.
Well, no. Before we get into that, it's you can't go to like Sonic, you can't order on their app or Taco Bell and get water with a meal. Like, I just want some water, but like you can't do it. They took off water from half of these fast food apps, and I'm just like, okay, so you give me food and you won't give me water, the other thing necessary to survive. Like, what are we doing here? I don't know. Even if you choose a combo, they won't. There's no option for water for half of these fast food apps. Sonic took it away. Taco Bell took it away. Apple's taking my ability to do any hand movements away.
But they wanted to remind us to tell you to run your thumbs up when you jump in here this morning, everybody. Run your thumbs up here, Bama Football on YouTube with me and Ty, and you had Cal this morning, and we're going to have a great show this evening too. So back to it. No water.
Bama hater? That's a terrible take.
What?
That's subjective. But I will say, you know the one that I don't get before we jump into college football? You ever had Raising Cane's?
No, I've heard of this.
It's like unseasoned spoons, and you use the unseasoned spoons to shovel the sauce into your mouth. But the chicken in and of itself, great quality, juicy.
Yeah.
Like it's great, but they don't season anything. And the reason is apparently because the sauce is so seasoned, you have to dip the chicken in the sauce. But if you just taste the chicken, like the chicken tender, it is like zero seasoning. There's nothing on that bad boy.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing because it is good, right? Like in terms of the juiciness, good, very good, but unseasoned as can be.
Damn! Wow, that's crazy. And what's up? What's up, everybody in here? I see everybody rolling through. I know it was funny, man. I heard that this morning too. You know, hey, good for him. He's a gardener, bro. Gardening with Kyle on Sunday mornings, everybody. I think that should be a real show. We should get him to do it. Like, I might watch it. I'm a big grass guy. Like, I have this obsession with having really nice grass, you know, especially like if you're in Washington because it gets more green. I don't know how green you can get it in Alabama or down south, just because different style. Washington, it's this really soft grass. It's like really nice hair. You know?
See, we get green for about a month or two in Texas, and then it gets so hot over the summer, everything dies. So funny story. My brother, he was a professional cyclist, right?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's badass.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He did road racing, mountain bikes. So he went to the national competition, which was held at Paladuro Canyon in Texas, and they're racing through the canyon and stuff.
Yeah.
As we're coming back, this is when my mom was just about to leave Texas for Virginia, right? We had some family stuff happen. And she was kind of torn, right? She wanted to be with my brother, my sister, and the grandchildren. But at the same time, she's always loved Texas. So she's looking around, right? And I don't know if you've ever been to Amarillo.
No.
But the drive from Amarillo to Dallas, like 3 or 4 hours of it, you're just in an open field. Like, that's it. There's nothing, right? It's cows, open field. That's it. And she looks around. And I swear to the heavens above, she says in like a longing voice, everything out here makes like it just feels like it's so full of life. And my brother and I look around and there's 3 dead trees that way. There's a dead tree that way, and all the grass is dead. And he just looks back at me and we're like, what the heck is she talking about? Like, everything here is dead.
You're like, yeah, for sure, Mom. It's real pretty out here.
It's awesome.
Here it gets green as can be. You know what I'm saying? Like, sorry, I got to put some chapstick on. But it's green because half the time 80% of the time it rains, just like today. Yesterday, nice, bright and sunny. You guys heard me talking about the morning. I get blinded in the morning if I don't put up some freaking thing in my window so I can see. But today, nope, overcast and rain. Back to depression, everybody. It's all good.
I love that though. I think it's because I come from Texas where it's like not much rain, very hot. And so for me, I love when it's a little bit overcast, rainy, and green. That's why I love upstate New York so much. It's just like as far as the eye can see, it's just green. And I'm like, oh, life.
Yeah.
Thank you. But everywhere has its perks, right? No doubt about it, right? Like we get a lot of sunshine down here, and that's awesome.
Yeah,
but
I know.
I like the rain. I like the rain. Shout out to everybody in here. We have Bama Productions. We have Kevin Lynch.
Yeah.
We have the Alabama Nation saying, "I have bees and harvest my own honey."
Oh,
that's
good for
awesome.
you. That is cool, man. I'm all about that. Love those.
Isn't there like tax incentives for doing that?
I don't know. It might be because they were all dying,
Yeah, I think there was, because whenever we were wearing upstate New York ties, so my grandmother lived. She passed, but my aunt still lives. Like, they owned a giant dairy farm, right?
Yeah.
And so I still have family that lives like right next to it, or now on the dairy farm. And she's about 20 minutes from Saratoga Springs, upstate New York, right near the border of Vermont. And so, like, we would just go to Vermont, New Hampshire all the time. Upstate New York, to me, man, is just unbelievable. It is so pretty up there.
Yeah, I haven't been there.
Perfect weather, right?
Really? Okay.
I mean, in the summer, it's like 85 degrees with a breeze all the time.
Oh, that's nice.
And it gets cold in the winter, but it's not like it used to be. Like, at least from what my cousin tells me, he's like, it's still, I used to, which is one of the Finger Lakes. Okay, my dad went to Cornell, so I know. I've been up to the Finger Lakes multiple times, Kevin, multiple times. Right, my dad was at Cornell the same time Ed Marinero was at Cornell, and he came in second for the Heisman Trophy race.
Pretty wild. That's good. Yeah, dude. I mean, gosh, man, like, it's pretty wild with your dad. You guys haven't heard us talk about this before, about Ty's dad. Like, he lived this like very, very intriguing, most like you could argue one of the most interesting men in the world. Like, his life, just all the different things that he did, who he's involved with, what he got to see. And I mean, it's pretty freaking cool, man. Like, that's the way to live, dude. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Yeah. He was one of those old school cowboys, right? Like, through and through. And it's wild because everybody would always be like, wait, your dad's a horse trainer and he graduated from Cornell and he was a college professor at one point. I was like, I know cool, it. Dude. What are you going to do, though? What are you going to do? People will do their own. Yeah. I'm actually, Kevin, about to buy some land up from my uncle who owns the farm. I want to buy a few acres off of him in upstate New York. That way I have it because, I love it up there. I want to try and build a little cabin up there at some point on the hill overlooking the mountains. And then I'm just going to become a recluse up there.
I worked with a guy who left law enforcement, and he went and he went and bought a farm or farmland up in upstate New York. That's what he did from Washington all the way there. I mean, he had family and stuff, though. You know what I'm saying? So, but good for. I mean, that was cool.
Well, let's talk about some college football. We're 13 minutes in.
Yes, right? We need you guys. Boom.
Thank you for being here, Lisa Fitz. Saying you're in my ear at the gym. Magic of AirPods. Trained a few clients. Now working out to Alabama football on YouTube. Thank you for being here. What motivation? Hey, that's awesome because I've always said this. Like, hey, if you see me running, Lisa, turn around and run with me because something's chasing, right? Like, there's something we need to run away from. If that's how you see me, that's how it is. I've been blessed to stay the same weight and everything since high school. And I just kind of stay like this.
Hey, man. That's not bad.
But I know all good things come to an end, right? So one of these days, I definitely need to get after it before I blow up like a balloon, like I'm Augustus Gloop or something, right? Like, before the Oompa Loompas have to come and wheel me out, right? I've been good for a while. So, sadly, we had to sell it. Yeah, I definitely want to winter and 4th of July. They have to. Yeah, my cousin says it's not as bad as it used to be, Kevin, and he's still up there in Clifton Park, which is up in upstate New York. But it's still cold. But I like the cold. I've always said this, Jake.
Yeah.
When it's 115 degrees, I don't care if you shed all your layers. It's still 115 degrees. When it gets cold, that's what the good Lord above had someone have the ingenuity to make sweaters for. Right? Like, I can do something about that. But when it's 115 degrees and you're outside, there's nothing to be done about that. And that's unfortunately the reality in Texas is it's 110, 115 degrees and it's a dry heat. And I know everybody's like, oh, that's better. Yeah. Well, to quote a joke from, I forget which comedian, he was saying like, oh, well, an oven is a dry heat, but you don't see me sticking my head in that. And it's like, yeah, that's 100% true. Right. Like,
hey man, that's a good point. That's a good one. Hey, that's a hell of a joke because it's real.
It's a different type of heat, man. A different type of heat. Let's talk about some football, man. Alabama gets some big wins. We talked about those yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yesterday we also went through and talked about all of the position coaches, all the coaching changes Alabama made, where we thought they upgraded, whether or not they downgraded. And we only had one position group where they quote unquote downgraded at. But even that was a really nuanced conversation because both Jake and I agree Mo Linguist and Colin Hitchler were fantastic hires.
Fantastic.
But you had T-Rob and Nick Saban.
Yeah, it's hard to beat.
That's dare I say impossible to beat.
Yeah.
Right? Like all due respect to Hitchler, which any of you know, Hacker, I know you're in here. I know you've heard it. Kevin, I know you're in here. I know you've heard it. Jimmy, I know I'm as excited for Colin Hitchler as any coach on this roster. In fact, if you're saying, Ty, what defensive coach under the radar are you most excited about? Hitchler. That'd be my answer without hesitation. Hitchler. You're still replacing T-Rob and Saban. That's tough.
It is hard, man.
Where do we go today, Jake? Do we talk about some more of the transfer portal stuff? Bama boy in here saying, did y'all see Jaden Rashada is suing Billy Napier and Florida boosters for fraud? I mean, you as a former player, what's your take on this?
I mean, I think it just shows, I think that what's disappointing in this is it shows like, I get it. It was an inconvenience at the time for Jaden Rashada. Okay. It was an inconvenience, and I don't necessarily look at it and say it's Billy Napier's fault. How do you say it's Billy Napier's fault? He's not. I mean, it's not like he runs the collective. It's not like he's the one who promised you the money.
He's just a figurehead. So that's a great point, though. Thank you for that. That's like, a great point.
I hate that because here's the thing is outside of Alabama, some other teams that I like, right? I do like Florida. Florida's been a team I've always enjoyed. Florida recruited me. That was a school I was highly considering. Back in the day, Florida Gators, man, I enjoy them, and I like Billy Napier as a person, and I think he's a good coach. I think it's taking him a minute to get pieces in place over at Florida, right? Like I will give him that. I liked what our boy said, right, and McElroy, and he's saying like if Florida can pull some stuff out in this type of schedule, and especially with who's their quarterback again right now? A kid from Wisconsin,
Graham Mertz, who actually I will always tell y'all I'll eat crow whenever I'm wrong.
Okay.
Last year I was like, okay, y'all are getting Graham Mertz. He's not a bad quarterback by any stretch of but does that move the needle? I was wrong. Yeah. He was really good for Florida last year. I'm not saying that he was Joe Burrow, right? No, dotting people. He was not the reason they were losing games. He was a really solid quarterback for them last year. Wrong on that. I'm sorry, Jake. Continue. I'm reading this lawsuit.
Yeah, you're good. But I think the thing was with Mertz, a lot of people had low expectations for him because he didn't necessarily perform the way they would expect going after a quarterback. But it goes to show what Napier was able to do with him in his overall improvement. I think he threw for over 3,000 yards. 20 something touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. The guy had a good season. And then I think what Florida runs into is you have an extremely young team, and he wasn't necessarily left with a lot of help, right? When he took over that position. So I like Billy Napier. I feel like if he can get it together, that's awesome. What I do think is BS is you have a kid who, and I disagree with this completely. You have a kid who goes over to Arizona State. He probably got so good. I'm going to be honest. He went to Arizona State. I'm going to tell you right now. But I mean, their coach, and forgive me, I can't remember his name, but he is a good coach, right? I should look that up real quick. We'll remember his name real fast because
Kenny Dillashaw.
Yeah, Dillingham. Dillingham.
Yes, Kenny Dillingham.
Yeah, Kenny Dillingham. He's a good coach, but Arizona State, it's not like one of the most highly attractive places. It hasn't been for quite some time. I mean, it does get some good athletes and whatnot, and you have good players that come out of there, but you're not pulling in the same type of talent. So you get Jaden Rashada, who goes over Arizona State. I'm sure he got a nice NIL incentive, right? He started, he played, he got playing time, he got coached. Now you go over to Georgia, right? You go over to Georgia, you probably again got NIL money again to transfer into Georgia. And now on top of that, you're suing Florida, who you're going to play all the time. Like, you want to talk about trying to rub it in, and I just don't like the move, man. It seems like a bullshit, just let's get more money move. It's not like look, I get it, the collective and all the stuff I said earlier, Ty. Billy Napier it's not his fault.
Well, I am reading the lawsuit, and
Yeah.
it does clarify Billy Napier was someone promising this money, and instantly right there, he has now committed a violation. Billy Napier promised him when he signed he'd get $1 million. That in and of itself is a violation for a head coach to do.
Did he promise that though?
Apparently they have texts.
Oh, if they have texts,
and they have been entered into evidence. I don't know that those are a part of the text, but in the same line, let me clarify, right? I don't know that they have texts about Billy Napier. It just, the way this article is wrote, it insinuates that they have texts about the promises that were made when he would sign. And Billy, if you sent a text, I'm sorry, you deserve to be punished for stupidity tax alone. Right? Like sometimes you stupid, right? I don't know whether he did. It's just like I said, the article, the way the wording is, I can't tell whether they're referring to something else, but it comes in the same sentence where it's talking about the promises that were made and that they have entered texts into evidence into the court filing.
That sucks, man, because someone, Nova Speed asked here, I'll highlight the comment real quick. No Speed asked, do you think Napier will make it through the regular season with his job? And Napier is relevant, right? Because he comes from Nick Saban. Like, he does come from that coaching tree. He was coached at Alabama for a minute, and that's why he got the job he got at, Louisiana Monroe, I think it was? Or
Louisiana Monroe.
Raging Cajuns. Or will he be fired before the playoffs? I mean, obviously, it's going to depend. This doesn't help. I'll say that right now. Like, what this text stuff and like what's coming out, if he actually communicated that, it doesn't help his cause. I'm always skeptical. Obviously Ty has the in-depth details, so that kind of helps a lot. But when I hear things and like of players or coaches or someone's, the hearsay, like, oh, he said this. Well, what did he actually say? Because there's a lot of stuff that's taken out of context. Especially you and me, you study law. I come from law enforcement. We both know how much people take shit way a different
out
direction,
of context,
so far out of context, it's not even funny.
Very
right.
True.
And so, I mean, all the time, I just think, it sucks if that's the case, if he did, because it doesn't help him with his cause of saying, here's the thing, without this, I feel like even if he were to have like a so-and-so season and doesn't make a bowl game or doesn't make playoffs, I still think they would give him one more year. Number one, his buyout was like huge. It was one of the biggest buyouts out there. Like, I mean, they would have had to pay him a ridiculous amount of money to let him go. But if he doesn't, if he, 100%, Kevin, like if he doesn't, does this lead to his downfall? Right. And is he out of this job? I mean, here's the thing. And then I heard swirling rumors, and they just might be talk, right? Because like I said, these things can be taken out of context. But if he is out of this job, then does Deion bounce over to Florida? Keep hearing.
It's funny you say that. I've heard, and
that would be somewhat scary for recruiting in the SEC. I'll tell you that right now.
Maybe, but here's my thing, man. And I really like Prime, but my thing is like, you're not recruiting
him.
He's not recruiting. Like, he doesn't do anything on the high school front, and the transfer portal stuff. Don't get me wrong. He kills it in the transfer portal. There's no argument from me there. The guy is getting some crazy good talent in the transfer portal, but it's almost like he's rebuilding a program every single year, right? Because they had a mass exodus year one, which I get. You were 1-11, and I know people didn't like how he did it. Jake, I was of the mindset of in a perfect world, I don't like that he did it either, but he was also hired to win games.
Yeah.
So it's like
he's just being honest.
He's trying to win games. I don't necessarily like how it went down, but at the end of the day, if I'm paying someone to fix something, they're going to go about trying to fix it.
Yeah.
But my hesitation comes in the second year when it's once again a massive roster turnover. Yeah. And it's like, okay, are you going to rebuild a roster every single year? Because that would be hard. And we talked about the new look Big 12 last night, ladies and gentlemen. We had 7 people on the panel. We were talking about who we think could take a run at the Big 12. We had 5 different answers and really 6 different answers from 7 people. That conference is going to be ridiculous. Like, it's going to be really tough to win it. Not that it's the best conference. I think that there's no question the SEC top to bottom is the best conference. But in terms of parity within a conference, I think that the Big 12 is the second best conference for parity in the nation next year because you think Utah, but UCF is doing great things. Kansas State, like, they're really, really well coached. West Virginia did some really positive things last year, though I don't know I'd pick them to win. Kansas with Leipold is if their guy can stay healthy, Jalen Daniel, that's going to be really tough. It's just going to be interesting, that turnover. But listen, the brand of Florida is not the brand of Colorado, right? Like, one of them is a lot easier to attract talent to.
True. And I wonder if like he bounces from, let's say you were to go to Florida and here, like someone asked, why is that scary? Right. Corey Lewis, you asked, why is that scary? I think here's the thing. I do think the fact is that once his sons are out of the picture, I think you see him more involved because he kind of has to be, right? Right now, he's a very much family focused guy. Granted, everyone has their take on the way Deion presents what he presents, but his book was, I read his book. It's like, it's called like Power Money, Sex. Right. And it talks about like some of the things he went through in his life. And then some of the things that were really difficult and how he came about, like the way he went about. Right. And so, and how where he's at now. And you're right. Like there's some things he has to clean up coaching wise. We're seeing coaches more in like a CEO style now, very much with NIL and managing the program. And then they put guys in place very much like Morgan or Courtney Morgan, right? And then Courtney Morgan brings in Jatavius Sanders. He brings on Aaron Hodges, Tony Jones, and I might be missing one other guy. And I hope I'm not, because all those guys are studs. Am I missing one more?
I feel like you are, but
I can't remember his name right now. If I am, I apologize. But
but he was already here.
Well, Haha was already here. Yeah. So I'm saying he brings in these other guys who are also studs in their field, right? One's overseeing recruiting, another one's overseeing like communication or like personnel. Another one's overseeing strategic like direction as far as recruiting. There's a lot of different things. So now it's becoming so much like a company, right, where it's broken down into these different subsections where people have to manage and oversee, and you have to delegate as a CEO, and then have your VP make sure that everything's going as smooth as can be in these fields while you focus on this stuff. And if he can kind of get past, I think that having his sons there kind of causes a little bit of that distraction for Deion. I'm going to be honest, and Shedeur, great player, but man, just hush.
Yeah. Well, but like I said last night, man, their wide receiver room out there, it's ridiculous. Like, actually, absolutely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be, if they have an offensive line, that offense is going to be tough to stop. Now, I'm not saying that's going to make it to where they're going to win the Big 12. I don't think they are.
Yeah. Hello, everybody there? Am I frozen? Is Ty frozen?
Hello.
Did you freeze, Ty? Did Ty freeze, or was it me, guys? Which one was it? I don't know. Can't tell.
I have no idea.
I don't know either. It's like, I didn't hear what you said though, Ty. Oh,
Ty
Ty
froze.
froze.
Okay.
Ah, man. What were you saying? You were like,
Yeah, I wouldn't pick Colorado to win the Big 12. But what I will say is if they have a good offensive line, that passing game is going to be real tough to stop. Just really tough to stop. I mean, you look at Jimmy Horn Jr., you look at Amarian Miller, Travis Hunter, I mean, is just such a skilled football player on all sides of the ball. He's actually incredible to watch. I really like him as a DB, Jake.
Yeah,
like
I do too.
His ability. I sent y'all that clip, right? I think I sent it to you too, right? Yeah. You Coach Sean and I were in here. His ability to play man and still watch the quarterback and break on an entirely different route is incredible. Like an incredible talent. That offense is going to be a lot of fun. But Adam talking about the lawsuit. Yeah, it all depends, Adam, because apparently they have texts, and it just depends what the contents of those texts are. And it depends, did he sign anything? If he signed with this NIL collective, if they actually had a contractual agreement, that's where they're going to be in trouble. Now, if they didn't, you're 100% right. Like, this lawsuit's not going to go anywhere. Unfortunately, you got played into a dirty game, but there's nothing illegal about playing a dirty game, right? Like, that's the unfortunate reality, because then you're really getting into, like you said, Jake, the he said, she said, and it's very hard to prove intent. Incredibly difficult in court to prove intent just off the basis of, like, he said, she said.
Yeah.
It's next to impossible. Actually, you have got to have something concrete. So I don't know what the total contents of the texts are, Adam, but I do agree with you. If the texts don't have anything that's like concrete, it's going to be tough. It is going to be really, really tough. 5-star Seton went to Colorado. Yeah, no, that was a huge win for them. And they have Phil Lodeholt as the offensive line coach now.
Okay.
And I think that's a very big one. So the defraud comes from the fact that they continually backed out of it, and he's seeking damages because of an NIL opportunity he had at Miami that he turned down to go to Florida. The one at Miami was reportedly $9.5 million. The one at Florida was reportedly $13.8 million, which, first off,
what the F, dude?
Yeah, if you're paying a high school quarterback that's like the Tennessee lawsuit, where I remember a few years ago, they had that Athletic article saying there was a high school quarterback that had made $9 million in NIL. Yeah. It was the Iamaleava. It was
why would you pay a kid who hasn't even played down in college like that much money? It makes no sense. I don't think there's one kid out there that's worth that. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Adam, I don't know, man. You and me both, Adam. You and me both. But here's what I will say. I talked to someone who is very involved with an NIL collective. Very, very involved with an NIL collective.
Yeah.
And what he told me is that right now, it's not about value. It's literally a bunch of rich people having a measuring contest. That's all this is right now. And it's just being like, oh, well, you can pay them this much. How about we pay them this much? And like, now granted, that was about a year and a half ago. But it does look like things are cooling down. I will grant you that. Like, it definitely looks like things are cooling down a little bit, but still, I think that there's a lot of truth in that. He was telling me, he's like, man, it's just a bunch of rich people that are really bored, and they're just trying to, it's like an ego thing. He's
Dude,
like,
come donate to me.
That's what I'm saying.
Man, I need screw the NIL, man. I'll give you content all day if you help me out. Let's go.
and Adam, I get what you're saying, but here's where I do disagree with you. If someone offered me Like if one of those NIL collectives offered me $9 million to come play football for them, I'm going to sign it. So I can't fault the kids whenever it's the adults offering the money. You get what I mean? Like, because $9 million is life-changing money.
Well,
you give someone like, I'm done. Like
you caught us a little bit last night, right, Ty? Like me and Sean. Did you catch it?
No,
I don't know how late you
were
were
on. The wife.
But, okay, cool. Well, me and Coach Sean and Coach Jay, we went over this in depth. Coach Sean went into depth on this last night, and he had some, man, he made some really like great points. If you haven't watched last night's kind of I guess episode or take, what's up, Patriot Life? What's up, my dog? Southern Red, good morning to you. Hope you're enjoying your coffee. Corey Lewis, good morning. I know I didn't have a chance to say good morning. Adam, good morning. Adam, I was making some jokes about. Hey, Chris, what up, dude? Man, positive Chris. I love you, positive Chris. Always, man. I love when you call in. And then I was throwing some funny at Adam last night, man. I was like, oh God, oh, here he comes, and of course, boom, he pops in right away. It was good, man. You always throw out some very thought-provoking questions or some good, I guess, ways to get us going for sure. I like it though, man. I have a lot of fun. I mean, I know you don't like Ty. I know you like me more, but it's all good.
Great discussion points for sure.
Kidding. For sure. But yeah, no, Coach Sean went into this in depth, man. And Coach Sean, it made a lot of sense going into like his perspective on it. And it does. And Ty, and you're making those same points. It's like, how do you not take that when it's thrown at you that much? I mean, it's life-changing. Again, like if you haven't watched it, go rewatch it and give us a thumbs up from last night and give us a thumbs up for today. So yeah, you know what I mean? But
I blame the adults.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
Well, 100%. And let me clarify here, because that's not to say that some of these prospects aren't faultless, right? Because it's not always the adults starting this, right? And that's where I don't want to make it sound like this is a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Because I think that fault goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of the instances we hear about, not all of them, right? Because you do have the one that I don't know the recruit. We're not going to guess the recruit, but Miss Terry was talking to one of the recruits' families, and they said, hey, my son loves Alabama.
Yeah.
Wants to come to Alabama, has always dreamed of playing for Alabama, but how much are you going to pay? Like, y'all are way behind in the NIL, and if you can match, we'll be there. And that was kind of like, okay, well, so like I said, it's not faultless. That's not my contention. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of the times, a lot of this comes on the back of, like, Jake, let's put it like this. You and I are both 18 years old in this situation, right? We're very impressionable. And especially in this day and age where everything is like right in your face, you hear that someone in your recruiting class is getting $9 million. Well, maybe you're only 3 spots off from them in every recruiting service. So now you're like, okay, well, if that's what he's getting, what am I getting? So I would then be at fault. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, the adult is also at fault for just putting some massively inflated number out there and setting the market.
Yeah,
right?
It's setting the market.
It's a really interesting conversation. And Adam, you are right? Like I don't mean to make it sound like, oh, the kids have zero fault. It's a very nuanced and balanced conversation, and there's a lot of blame to go around. But I will say, man, if someone offered me $13 million,
jeez,
I think you hit the nail on the head, Adam. I think that the parents in a lot of these things, I think that goes to it too. But I'm not going to lie, man. You offer me $13 million to come play quarterback for you, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there like Uncle Rico. I can throw a ball clear over those mountains over there. Right?
I love it, dude.
Sidearm that bad boy. And then after I get that $13 million and I get out of here, I'm going to go move into a cabin somewhere. And I'm going to homestead that bad boy. You're going to see me on YouTube making the videos of the garden. Long mountain beard, and it's just like
just a little nice, like walking through the woods, looking at the birds and stuff. Remember that was like on PBS back in the day. That guy who just like walked around and built stuff. That was my grandpa, basically. My grandpa.
That's why Great point by Eldon saying the market hasn't established any boundaries yet. That's 100% true. That is 100% true. And when a market doesn't establish boundaries, you have people pushing the free market.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at, right? Like, and Lance, I do agree with you. This isn't NIL.
No, man.
It's not.
It's not what it's meant to be, at least.
This is not what NIL was meant to be, but here we are. And unfortunately, I don't like it, but you got to play the game now.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you sit on your hands and say, no, this isn't what it was meant to be, I'm not going to do anything. Guess what? A&M will say, I'm more than happy to play the game. Texas will say, I'm more than happy to play the game, right? All these other schools will say, I'm more happy to play the game. And Brian Kelly came out and said, we're not paying for, so-and-so. If I was, and Jake, if you were offered $5 million to go to Nebraska, and I guess he's saying $3.5 million to go to Alabama, I'd take Alabama just because of the development rate at Alabama. Plus, right, like there is a massive difference. That's 1.5 million. But
regardless of that, that's a good question because I think that's fair a very good question. Think about like right now for players. I'll tell you exactly what I would do. I would pick Alabama because number one, I'm already getting over $1 million, right? There's a study out there that shows once you make a certain amount of money, your level of happiness does not increase. You just can buy more things. That's great. I don't need to buy all these things. Give me a sweet ass truck with a great dog and a perfect house. I don't need a big house, a nice house on some land, whether that's by a lake or by some body of water with maybe some mountains. I like that Florida, like
gotta be mountains,
swamp look, but at the same time, I'll tell you this, I would take Alabama because not only am I getting the money aspect, right? Like that's awesome. But that again, I speak about this a lot when you go through the recruiting process. If you have opportunity to go to University of Alabama, it's one of the most recognized brands in the world. Let's say you played football at Alabama. Think about like when you're done with school, when you're done playing football, like the impact that has on your life is dramatic. I'm not saying like Nebraska's not, because Nebraska's fan base is pretty strong and they love their football. Like they don't have a pro team. That shit, I don't think they have anything else besides their volleyball team, which is badass. But
they've got a great fan base. You
nailed
fan
base
there.
Is great. You know
great
what I'm saying?
Fan base.
Like I highly considered Nebraska when I was being recruited. Like I said, I was one of the first teams that recognized me when I was young. But yeah, if I had that choice, I would pick Alabama because of what goes on after football's over. There's just too much opportunity to lose, right? Well, and they have great education. I mean, for those who don't know, when I was done playing football and I was finishing like degree stuff, I actually attended University of Alabama.
Well, and here's one. Byron saying that, for example, rumors of Auburn offering JuJu $6 million versus if Bama and Georgia are offering $0, then take the $6 million. Right, like that one right there, it's a totally different conversation because if they're not offering anything, take the $6 million. But I can promise you, like USC is probably offering in that ballpark. And let's say, here's a great one, Byron. Let's play off of Adam's question, but let's remove Alabama because there's a level of innate bias, at least for me, towards Alabama. Let's go USC.
Okay.
Versus Auburn.
Yeah.
Let's say the figure for JuJu is $6 million. The figure for USC, since we're going to do a 1.5 mil difference, is 4.5. Patriot Life with the gifted 5. Bama Football on YouTube with Kyle Henderson memberships.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Kareem, I see you in here too, man. Mike Coleman, what up, dog?
Great support.
Louis, I didn't say hi to you either yet. And Lance, what's going on?
Take the money and run. That's funny. So let's remove Alabama and let's think about this in relation with JuJu Lewis, right? USC, let's say they offer 4.5 and Auburn at $6 million. I'm going to go with USC.
Yeah, 100%.
Because Lincoln Riley, well, not even that. Lincoln Riley has more first number 1 picks than I think any head coach in college football right now. Like,
does he?
Caleb, Baker, Kyler. He has 3 number 1 picks. I don't think there's another coach out there right now actively that has 3 number 1 picks.
I'm running through my head. I don't think so either, man. I think you're right.
Especially with quarterbacks, right? And JuJu fits his system. Lincoln, Smook and I had this debate. right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, we both kind of we both conceded to each other, which was a great conversation.
Yeah.
And it was like Lincoln is hailed as a quarterback developer, and he's great, but you have to be a quarterback that fits into his system, right? Like there's a reason why Spencer didn't excel with Lincoln, because Spencer isn't super mobile. He's much more of a pocket passer. Whereas like JuJu, Caleb Williams, Kyler, and even Baker. I mean, Baker's surprisingly athletic. He'll get out the pocket.
Oh yeah, I like. I'm a Baker Mayfield fan for sure.
Yeah,
I like Baker Mayfield.
So if it came down to USC offering, if I'm JuJu and USC offers me 4.5 and Auburn offers me 6, I'm taking the USC 4.5 or staying with the 1.5 million difference. Because I'm like, okay, well, you've developed how many first-round NFL quarterbacks? I'm going with you because I can get a bunch of money now, and then I can get the real money in 3 to 4 years. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, again, I mean, my takes are not even on like from that standpoint, because Auburn, everyone's going to get like pissed off about this and stuff, but Auburn, it's not like, under Hugh's system, you still are going to have the success, right? But here's again where I go back into resources. You're in LA at USC. LA, and everyone knows USC's fan base is a lot of celebrities, and there's a lot of celebrity connections. I mean, look what Lincoln Riley was able to do with his coaching staff. I mean, they gave him a bunch of money to go grab, some big names, because they need to win in order to have that fan base and that big money support them. So, and from, I'll tell you right now, they don't want to lose him, because I do think, especially with Caleb, this is what really protects Lincoln Riley, because he had a rough season, dude. But what protects him is Caleb Downs getting selected number 1 and the amount of media coverage Caleb Downs got. And so that gets back, and they want to turn this opportunity, you could say, because of the amount of publicity they got. And they don't want to lose it. So they spend a lot of money, right, on getting the assistant coaches they were able to get, so they can utilize this and say, okay, hey, we're good now. We can get you in the NFL because we got this NFL caliber coach who's done this. And on top of that, you are in, USC, California territory, where all of our alumni are celebrities. So you will have connections for life. That's their pitch, Did I say Caleb Downs?
You said Caleb Downs, yeah.
Oh shit, guys, sorry, I meant Caleb.
I knew what you were talking about, and it's one of those things, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
we have.
My bad.
Well, no, because
that's why I'm drinking this Alani.
Cherry
slushy's good, by the way.
Okay, I've seen that actually. I'm on the Celsius right now just because it's sugar-free. But then I have questions even about that, Jake. Like, is it more conducive to health to drink something that's sugar-free but with some of the other sweeteners? Or is it better to just have the natural sugar? I don't know. I think
it's the natural sugar, to be honest.
Sugar scares me, man. Like, sugar actually scares me.
I feel
but I think once again with everything, it's moderation, right? Like, but yeah, I don't know. That's a conversation for a different day, though, because we will. But it's one of those things where it's sugar, but in moderation. Yeah, I think y'all are probably 100% right. I think you are. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're definitely right. But it's one of those things where we don't have a script when we come on here. No. Jake and I didn't even talk this morning to be like, oh, this is what we're going to talk about today. In fact, we came in here, and before we hit live, I was complaining about not being able to get water at Sonic through the app. And then it was like, oh, let's go live. And so we didn't even prep what we were saying here. So it's, the brain is going, not if it has aspartame. Yeah, I know that's the, that's some questionable stuff right now, is that aspartame. So yeah, we'll see. But NIL is just super interesting, but not necessarily for the right reasons. You know what I mean?
Yes.
In coming out of high school, Jake, I got accepted to USC.
Oh, that's cool.
and like I was really wanting to go because for my program, they had so I was between several different schools, right? Bama, USC were two of them, but USC had a great program for my major, what I was going into, and it was like, okay, well, that's awesome. But I didn't go because I was like, man, I'm a kid from North Texas. I'm landlocked. I grew up on a ranch. I think if I move out to LA, and at the time, man, like all I did was skateboard. Like I would work at the ranch, go work at my job in town, and then I would grab the skateboard out the back of the 350Z and skateboard until about 3:30 in the morning, go home, go to school, and do it all over again, right? I was like, I'm going to go out to California. I'm not going to go to class. All I'm going to do is skateboard and surf. Like, and that's great, but not for a kid that needs to be going to college. So I made the right choice, right? And plus, I got scholarship to go to UNT to where I didn't have to get into debt.
For sure. I mean, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was recruited by USC. I went and did the whole visit with Pete Carroll. It was like Ed Odron was there at the time. You know who was a wild animal, dude, who's like crazy as shit, was Nick Holt. For those who don't know who Nick Holt is, go look him up. He coached he did coach at Washington for a minute. He also coached over at he's at Washington with Sarkisian, actually. He coached over at Idaho. He's the head coach at Idaho. Nick Holt he is freaking insane. This bald dude, his voice is just like, oh man, he's crazy, dude. But good coach though, but wild. But yeah, man, USC's it's a beautiful school for sure. Like it's, private school. So you need a scholarship to go there for sure.
And I got one, but it was like with out of state tuition.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a full ride. And you got to remember, at the time, I thought I was going to go to law school after. That's the whole reason I didn't go to Alabama. I got a pretty good scholarship to Alabama, but it's still, I would have graduated with around, after 4 years, $20,000 worth of debt. And I was like, okay, well, then I'm going to have $20,000 worth of debt, and then I'm going to have to get in more debt for law school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to do that. And had I known I wasn't going to law school, I'd have been in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, I'd have gone to Alabama, but I went where it was free.
Yeah, man. I wish that was probably the big thing for me is I wish Alabama was like, I mean, they're not like they weren't relevant, but at that time frame, right before Saban comes, they're definitely going through some. It's again, they were just kind of average. You just didn't hear about them as much.
So here we go, man. Here we go. Roll Tide Patty says Texas A&M offers you $4.5 million. Ohio State offers you $5.5 million and a new truck. What kind of truck?
Yeah, what kind of truck are you talking about on this?
What kind of truck?
Mm-hmm.
That's the big one, right?
Yeah.
Oregon offers you $5 million and you're guaranteed to start. Who y'all taking? So I actually have a follow-up question for this. What position?
Yeah, that's another good one. Punter?
If you're yes. Yeah, for me, right? Like that's definitely what it would be, is either place kicker or punter.
I punted in high school.
I actually have
bombed that ball, dude.
Yeah, I
can still spin it, baby.
Couldn't have played anywhere else, but like I have a cannon for a leg because of all those years of soccer, right? Like I could. We went out and I was a sophomore and I was hitting 40, 45-yard field goals, like automatic, because it was just like, okay, well, I can boot this ball all the way down there. Toyota and wide receiver. Okay. So, and Roll Tide, are we starting at every place? Because automatically I've eliminated one.
Yeah.
If I'm a wide receiver, I'm eliminating Texas A&M.
Yeah, 100%.
Darn you, Apple.
Remind you, run those thumbs up.
Yeah.
That's all we got to do, Ty, every single time. We need to have a reminder. Guys, hit that thumbs up when you come in here.
So every part of me wants to do Oregon just because, what did I tell y'all earlier? Like that Pacific Northwest is completely, like in terms of outdoorsiness, that's my vibe, right? To where I could hit the beach. I could go snowboarding on Mount Hood, right? Like I could be out on the mountains, right? Bow hunting out there. Like that's my vibe. if I ever won the lottery, I'd have about a 1,400 square foot cabin. Very nice, very open, a lot of land, and that'd be it, right? Like I don't need for anything. I just like being outside in the fresh air. But if I'm a wide receiver, I gotta go Ohio State, man. Like, no, Oregon is the only place I start. Interesting. Jake, I'm gonna let you start with this one. Where would you go?
You had to pick freaking Oregon out of all these damn schools. Like, really?
I know that hurts you. That's why I passed it to you first.
Like, I hate Oregon with a passion. But I'm going to be honest with you, from a smart analyst perspective that I will provide you this morning, Oregon can go suck. No, I'm just kidding. No, I will say this. I would take the damn Ducks, and the reason is because my opportunity in their system. You're a wide receiver. You're going to get a lot of touches. It's the ball's thrown constantly, 24/7.
Yeah.
Their system's made for, if you're a good wide receiver, you're going to eat. You know what I mean? And you're getting $5 million. So, and I guess Eugene can. I mean, if you can go hang with the, I'm not even going to say it, but yeah, you can go hang with the tree for a long time. It's a good place. You can hug some trees and love each other. It'd be real happy, dude.
I would be hugging a tree out there. I'd be like the video of Conor McGregor here recently, just like,
oh,
that'd be me.
This is a beautiful tree.
That'd be me.
Nah, man, trees are important, guys. I'm not dissing on trees. Okay.
It's funny. Every time I go to upstate New York and we come back to Texas, the trees here look like bushes when you come back from like upstate New York or somewhere where there's real trees. Now, East Texas is different. Let me clarify. East Texas is much different. In North Texas, though, our trees look like bushes compared to like where you're up at, right? Like in Seattle, you would come to where I'm at and you'd be like, that's a nice bush you got in your front yard. And I'd be like, Jake, that's a tree.
Wow.
And you'd be like, oh, got it. So this is an interesting one, Roll Tide. I'd be stuck between Ohio State or Oregon just because Hartline, man. Like, that dude does wild stuff with wide receivers.
Yeah, he does a good job.
And that's why, like I said earlier, it depends whenever Adam asked the question of, like, Nebraska or Bama. If I'm going off of what Alabama did under Nick Saban, I'm going to Bama, even though I'd take it less NIL because I know what they do in development.
Yeah.
It all depends to me. Would your answer changed if we replaced Texas A&M with Texas? I mean, it would give me more to think about, right? Because I know what Steve Sarkisian does with wide receivers. I know the offensive system he cultivates to put his guys in positions of success. It would certainly change. That's where I'm getting at, right? That's where I'm getting at. All of this right here, the reason why I'd pick USC over Auburn is I do think Hugh Freeze is going to be, close your ears, everybody. I do think he's going to be successful offensively. It's Hugh, right? Like the guy, he puts together great offenses.
He does do a good job offensively.
But if I'm JuJu Lewis, USC with Lincoln Riley, like for his style of quarterback, which JuJu Lewis is, you can't argue with Lincoln Riley, right? Like he just does great work. Now I can argue about how he formulates a team, but if we're talking about one player and where you get developed, that always will take into a part. So yeah, Roll Tide, it definitely would make me think because when I look at Texas A&M, I'm like, y'all had Evan Stewart, y'all had Marshall, y'all have Moose Muhammad, y'all have all these fantastic wide receivers. And you had, like, what have you done with them?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, and if you're a good wide receiver, because if you're not going to see the field. You're going to end up hitting the portal. So you better be good. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot. There's so many aspects to this that people like don't realize. Like, and man, I saw some comment here. I gotta see if I can find it. And it was good as far as like.
While you're looking for that, I will say Lance just won me over in terms of the Roll Tide Patty one.
Yeah.
Because I know Dylan Gabriel, like he might not be the best quarterback in the nation. He is one of the best decision makers in terms of he is going to put his team in a good position. He's not going to put you in a bad position. And if I'm a wide receiver and I get to start and Dylan Gabriel's my quarterback, I'm feeling pretty good about that. So yeah, Lance, great point.
No, I think it was Kareem. Kareem, you made it. I like what you said. Your original comment, I think it was a lot of these kids won't get developed following money. Not that I knock them for that, but it's going to happen. And then you follow up with that to this. Some of these kids have to capitalize on the money now because NFL won't be in their future. I mean, yeah, it's not, you're not wrong on that. I mean, there's a very, very small percentage who makes it to the NFL. Today's game is fast. It's they're trying to make it safer for people, but at the end of the day, you're still going 100 miles per hour into another human being. There's bound to be injuries. I mean, like that's what ended me. I mean, it was injury based. And so,
it's just lack of talent, but I 100% understand where you're coming from.
Hey, dude, Ty, come on, man. You are the biggest dude in what grade?
It's crazy. That? I actually, I didn't grow much after like the fourth or fifth grade. Mm-hmm. I was 5'9" in the fourth grade, like just towering over everybody. And all the doctors told my mom, like, "Oh, he's going to be 6'5". Well, they lied. And I have a beef with them now.
Well, dang, dude. Ew.
All of them.
Hair in my mouth. I hate that.
Here's a great question. But don't you guys believe Alabama NIL still needs to pick up and get better than most in the SEC? Yes, I do believe that, Corey. I do believe that because that's where we're at. We have to play the game. And right now, I think Alabama is still operating under the assumption that they're going to get the Nick Saban discount.
Nick Saban's not
there. I do.
See, I don't think so.
And I halfway know so. Someone involved with the school reached out to me, and not necessarily. Let me. I don't mean directly involved.
Yeah.
But someone who has great knowledge, right, is in the industry.
Oh, run those thumbs up, everybody! Gracious. Thumbs up all day.
Yeah, my God.
I love it.
But someone who is in the sport industry who knows these things told me, hey, at best right now, Alabama's 5th in the SEC in terms of their NIL fund. And he's like, and there are 3 schools climbing to catch them rapidly. There is a hesitation. And he said they're getting better, but they haven't committed to it yet because they still think, oh, well, it's Bama. We're going to get a discount. You're right. Bama's one of the biggest brands in the nation. Don't rely on a discount. Take it. Be a taker. Don't rely on, oh, will we get a discount? No. Be the best. And even if you don't have, like, I'm not saying you're going to have the money of Texas A&M or Texas, right? They have all the money in God's kingdom. But I don't think that sitting on your hands is good. There's a reason why even Nick Saban had to throw. I don't know. Have you ever seen South Park?
I mean, yeah, I've seen South Park.
Have you seen the episode where they're relying on Cartman to create a bigger controversy at the school so that way the former controversy goes away?
No, but that's good though. That's good shit right there.
So one of the things they do, Mr. Mackey's like, we got to throw Eric Cartman under the bus, okay? And they're like, how are we going to do that? And he's like, we take Eric Cartman and we throw him under a bus, okay? That's what Nick Saban did with Jimbo Fisher. And he did it because it's like, hey,
man, that's good.
He did it because it's like, hey, we're not like, we have a team right here in Texas A&M buying all these players, doing all of this, and we don't want to play the same game. And that's Nick Saban was even begging, because you remember he said that to the boosters, and then the video got out. So Louis knows exactly what I'm talking about. So much Arby's horsey sauce. He knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We need to take Eric Cartman and throw him under the bus, okay? How are we going to do that? You take Eric Cartman and you throw him under a bus.
Yeah, I saw Josh Miller threw something out. Our member for 4 months, it looks like. Man, congrats, Josh. That's new. I didn't know that you could do that. Maybe that's cool. I like that highlight.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good, dude. But don't you all think if every school refuses to offer money for for a year or two, it would stop this crap. Saban recent NIL interview was dead on. I mean, no, because I think it's been going on even behind the scenes for a long time. I mean, I can tell you that right now, just based on what I know from even playing back and being recruited from the early 2000s, right? That was still going on. It's been going on for a long time. But I just think now it's like so much more public, so there's a lot more opinions on it and stuff, you know. It's not going to stop anything. It just needs to be better. There needs to be a better I guess rules in place for it the best you can. Like, I like the fact that, like, you have a school, here's your budget, very much like a salary cap.
Yeah, they need revenue sharing.
Yeah, that in the end of the day, you do need that. That's the easiest way to keep everything fair, because then you can spend the money you want to spend on getting a player in recruiting, but you're not going to be able to have all this extra to go after multiple. Like, I think it's hard right now. I have a hard time. Again, like, I'm not a, Duck hater for sure. I'm not an Oregon fan, but that's why it's hard seeing Oregon in this portal right now. Portal, okay, talking about portal and recruiting, because it's like, dude, seriously, like, you guys have, your collective is Phil Knight. Like, okay, so what is Corey Waldrop? You asked this question: does Bama not have any deals like Oregon and them do with Nike? I mean, yeah, we have a deal as far as representing a brand, but a lot of schools have that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Oregon is special because that's Phil Knight's baby. Look at the amount of money poured into the facilities. They're the only school, I think, with facilities the way they are, and I've seen them up close, and they've been remodeled. That was in the Pac-12 like that, man. Like, that's just freaking ridiculous, man.
This is good. This is good. This is funny. We need to get creative. Offer recruits a year's worth of free Arby's, 5,000 pints of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, or an ugly car that has potential if you work on it. That's funny. Nicole, thank you for being in here. And Dwight asked, wouldn't that still hurt the small schools? Not if you did it correct. And this is what I'm saying. NCAA, if you're watching, pay me. I'll take less than you pay these dilapidated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get canceled, Ty.
Yep. I'll take a lot less money than you're paying these lobotomites to make decisions, right? Here's the thing. The NFL has a salary cap, right?
Like, in the mornings, don't get it canceled.
Yeah, you have the most valuable sporting franchise in the world in the Dallas Cowboys, who are operating under the same rules as the Green Bay Packers, who are the only publicly owned team, right? Like, even though I don't think it's but you get my point, right? Like, you have big markets with small markets, and because of the salary cap, you're able to do it. So what the NCAA needs to do, if they want to continue with a control on college football, they're going to have to take less money. They're going to have to start being so greedy, or stop being so greedy, and say, okay, we now have to revenue share. And in doing the revenue sharing, we're going to create a salary cap so that all Power 4 teams get the same amount of money to work with. And that's how you build your roster. And you could do it equitable so that every player on your team gets X amount of dollars, and that's the exact same. Or you just hand it to the school and say, okay, you have X amount of dollars to work with, however you see fit.
Yeah,
do with that money what you will.
That's what I like. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair way to do it. I mean, it's right. It's a salary cap it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like that. I think it's a smart way. Like, give them a certain amount of money and let them do what they want to do, dude. And it is Power 4 now. It's not Power 5. The Pac-12 doesn't deserve to be called a power anymore. The Pac-2. It's so ridiculous, man. It's dumbass president, Pac-12.
That was and I'll tell you what really hurt with the Pac-12 is they let the Big 12 get their deal done before them, and then all of these TV media rights people were like, "Oh wait, you want us to pay you like $30 million more than we gave the Big 12? Why?
Freaking greedy ass, MF."
And that's
look, don't just drop your man. Oh, Dude, that makes me so mad.
He killed your conference.
Yeah. Fucking asshole.
They needed life alert. Help, I'm falling and can't get up.
Oh, dude. Man. So freaking frustrating. Oh,
yeah, that's it. You know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
But NCAA, hire me. Listen. I need the money. Right? I'll take the money.
Fair.
And I don't know, man. I'm not saying I'd have the answers, but I'd have more answers. Right? Like the greed has got us to where we are.
That's right.
And if you want college Maya.
I hear that dog in the background.
All right, I'm gonna pass it off to you for a second.
You're good.
Because the people are here to spray.
Oh, good to your thing.
And Maya, they're knocking at the door, and Maya is not pleased because I'm in here.
Don't worry, guys. We're not going anywhere. I hope you like T and J in the mornings, or J and T in the mornings. That's for Ty and Jake, or Jake and Ty in the mornings, to bring you a great start to your day with your coffee. Smile and give us a thumbs up. No, man, like it's a really good point with all these different aspects, and just trying to like get decisions made. Now, I do want to jump back to what Ty was saying with Alabama, though, because Alabama, do we need to like get more aggressive with the collective? What needs to be done? Hey, Walt, I see you in here, man, and I seen some other people jump in. Dwight, I see you. What's up, brother? Nicole, Jimmy. I love seeing everybody in here, man. But do we need to get like more aggressive in our NIL? Is that really what it is? That's what's separating us from landing 5 stars right now? No. Like I know like some people might not like this, but that's not separating us from landing 5 stars. It's not that. I think you're gonna see us land 5 stars. I also think the season's gonna play a huge part of that. Yeah, Louis, you're nailing this. We need to win big first. You're right. Like we need to win. Once you start winning, it solves your problems. You win, it solves your problems. Okay. Like that's the big part. Everyone just saw what Kalen DeBoer, all right, who put this out, put out his product at Washington, and his product, what it did in the NFL draft. The Huskies hadn't had a draft like this as far as players being selected throughout the draft in a while. But people saw what he did with just that alone at University of Washington. Now you bring that to Alabama, where you have a lot of talent. Man, you're going to start seeing like some guys like getting selected because of their productivity, and also guys being highlighted because more guys being highlighted because of the depth and the rotation that he'll use to keep guys fresh, to play fast, especially in his offense. And I will see it on the defensive side too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just speaking offensively right now, is that you're going to see so many more guys. It's going to be, do you remember back in the day when Pete Carroll, and Adam, I know you asked me, what did I think of Pete Carroll? I loved Pete Carroll. His energy was phenomenal. He's a great guy. But back in the day with Pete Carroll and USC, there was guys like second stringers getting selected. I mean, shoot, this happened under Saban too. But I can remember specifically watching the draft with USC, and you see guys, right, who are being selected who barely saw time on the field, but they were so freaking athletic because USC had a monopoly at the time of recruiting. And so they would go and they would draft, like USC would just have draft pick galore when Pete Carroll's there and they're going through their dominant era, right? And so the next part of that is what you're going to see with Kalen DeBoer here at Alabama is you have very much a very similar fact of the type of athlete, the amount of athletes you have, and he's going to be able to utilize so much of the talent that you are going to see a lot more guys get drafted. This is the part, and I'm going to kind of go out on a limb and say this, is I think you are going to see, especially with Alabama, if they have this explosive year that win a national championship, you're going to see with the amount of guys, and I'd have to look and see who's eligible and whatnot, but you're going to see just crazy number of guys being drafted because he's already proven the product he puts out with the guys from Washington that were drafted and their productivity on the field. And then you see, okay, this guy really gets people prepared. Like you can see it's not just a It's not just a college thing. Like these guys come out and play really good ball in the NFL too, because you are going to see that these receivers are studly. Like Jamarcus Shepard, what he does with wide receivers is impressive. Like going on. You guys see me? Oh, we're good.
Yeah, you froze for a bit.
What damn thing. The internet's being weird. But what you're seeing is like what he does with wide receivers is extremely impressive. The technical skills that they get going into, I guess, out of college into the NFL. You are going to see the same thing with our receiving group, and it's going to be really exciting. That's when you start seeing the 5-stars come in. So do we really, and that's just with wide receivers. Also, when we get a quarterback, there's so many aspects of it, right? Like look at Michael Penix was valued so much that Atlanta Falcons had to go out and get him before he was taken off the board. That's how much value they saw in him.
About that.
Trust me, a lot of people don't like it. I think it was probably a decent pick just because of Kirk Cousins' history. And granted, they probably shouldn't have paid Cousins as much as they did if they're going to do that route. But
no beef with the pick in terms of Penix. I have beef with the front office, and I also have beef that I think that he was going to fall to the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, yep.
And I think that's who they really wanted. And once he was off the board, they panicked and got
whatever they could. But no, I'm telling you, like the productivity. So you're gonna, man, I think NIL needs to be strong. It needs to be strong for Alabama. I think they're putting measures in place, and you'll see them sooner rather than later as far as hopefully fixing some of this NIL chaos. But at the same time, as long as we're winning, we're gonna see these stud wide receivers. We're going to see these stud players come in, and then we're going to get away. So there's a question way earlier in the show of, are we still in the mix for, who was it? It's
no.
Jamie French for French.
No,
I don't know if we're in the mix for Jamie for French.
That's me.
But I know we're in the mix for Caleb Cunningham, strongly in the mix for Caleb Cunningham as a 5-star. I mean, Travis Smith Jr., Derek Meadows. I mean, there's a number.
I don't think we're in it for French anymore.
Nah, man. Marcus Harris. There's a lot of dudes that were in the mix for wide receiver wise. So,
yeah. And because I think French is pretty much, well, if I'm not mistaken, even I think he and DeCorian Moore have the same top schools, except I also think French has one of the Florida schools. So I think it's one of the Florida schools, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, maybe not Oregon, but for some reason I feel like Oregon is up there. But I know that he had a good visit to Texas, from what I've been told. Ohio State, obviously, right? The day that they mess up and let Brian Hartline get away is the day that I'm going to throw a party. Let Brian Hartline go to like Rutgers as the head coach, and he'll still recruit well, but he won't be a thorn in the side of everybody trying to recruit wide receivers. Because let's be honest,
he does a good job, man.
He does a great job, right? Like I don't care how you feel. Yeah, you do.
Thanks, Kareem. I appreciate that. I go through my ups, my like different energy levels, right? I get real high at times, woo, and then I'm like, then I get into my like level-headed, like deep thought process for you guys. Like if you saw me last night, like on Coach Smook Network, like yeah, it was pretty funny, man. My entrance to that, giving you guys this beautiful, look.
Yeah, that's because Boomer129 put it in your mind over on my channel about the stash.
I had put it in everybody's mind, Boomer. Boom.
That guy, I'm telling you, I love that guy because he genuinely makes it his mission to go around. Every time we do like a round table, he wants to make every person break.
Oh, man.
To start laughing. Like that's
he got Smoot good, dude. He got Smoot good.
He gets me every time.
Fall off screen, bro.
That guy is funny, man. Like that guy is really, really funny.
Oh yeah, he's funny, man. It was good.
But yeah, when it comes to French, man, like he, for whatever reason, and dare I say, we have a better offensive staff now than we did before. He has shown zero interest in Bama.
Weird to me.
And
you
cool.
know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Because I'll take Caleb Cunningham and Lser Brooks.
Oh, Lser Brooks is like this hidden secret. I mean, people are still going to go after him because they saw
Oh, he's about
obviously, yeah. I mean, but so they're gonna, but you have to understand with him though, he is very much a guy, like just based on what everyone found out about him, because he was so quiet. Like he's kind of like this secret talent that nobody really knew, you know. The thing with him is he's kind of like to himself, does his business, is not a heavy presence on social media, doesn't even really camp. He just plays the game. That kid, I'm telling you right, that just with his mentality, that kid is going to be lights out studly. He's just there to work and play the game. Like he's going to be a stud. I mean, I can tell you right now, that mentality right there he has like a sniper's mindset. When you go to like sniper school, it's hard, really hard, because you gotta lock in, dude, focus. And so for him, I'll tell you this, is that guy has like a sniper's mindset. He's just like hidden, ready to destroy.
I don't worry about. He's probably the prospect in this class I worry the least about flipping. Just because of his mindset.
Him and who's the kid I absolutely love? Daryl.
Duke Johnson. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Duke. Yep. Daryl Duke Johnson, baby.
Yeah.
I love that kid, man. I saw his little video from when he was a kid, man. I'll tell you, Josh Miller, he's asking a question. You've been this? Yeah, it's for some specialized stuff I did. Yeah, no, I did that with SWAT and the task force I work for. But I'll tell you is his video of just like committing to Alabama when he's a kid. I mean, it brought tears to my eyes. If you guys saw me talk about that, was I on with you, Ty, when we were talking about that?
I don't think so.
Or maybe I was in the evening. I almost like cried, man, because it took me back to in the day when I was young, and because I didn't start playing football like I told you guys until like I told you a story how I started, but I didn't start playing until my 6th grade year, right? And then once I started getting into it by 8th grade, I kind of started to understand a little bit more and how much I loved the game. And then 9th grade and NCAA playing the football game, it just really gets you going. You want to achieve your dreams, and you start to come to reality, and it's special, man. So
yeah,
that's why I have a lot of love for that dude.
I think offensively, I don't worry about Brooks flipping, and I think defensively, I don't worry about Daryl flipping. I think they're locked in.
Yeah, I think Metz is pretty locked in too.
I think Metz is as well. No doubt about it. No doubt about that.
Just that, we had a chance to have him on Bama Football on YouTube with Smook, and he's just like a good dude, man. Great. Honestly, all the guys we have in our class right now are like that. And that's exactly what this staff goes after. And that's why I have a lot of respect, I think, for the way, because the way we handle NIL, I'm sure other schools are similar, but it's kind of been broadcasted a little bit now, because Courtney Morgan's talked about it at Washington, and he's talked about it here in some interviews at Alabama. And they have their system that they have set up to handle NIL from when you're a freshman to when you see the field. They do a really good job of managing that and making sure, like, okay, this is what we do. We're never going to pay you more than a guy who's already been here and put in the work. I think that is a fair thing to do.
Yeah.
We're never going to go out there and overpay for a kid who has not seen the field yet, no matter who you are. So that already takes us out of the running for some guys completely. I get that, man. But it's also a fair way to do it, because if you want to retain your roster and you don't want to live in the portal, like, I mean, a little bit Ole Miss has kind of done that. Granted,
I have questions.
I think Lane Kiffin, man, just has I think it's just his style though too, is like he wanted to fill some holes on his end. So I don't want to give Lane too hard of a time. Pause. You're up.
Yeah, never mind.
No, keep going.
It was a bad joke.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, no. It was a bad joke. We're gonna fly by that one, right? That way we don't get canceled. But
good.
I have serious questions about the way that they're doing this. Like, I think this kind of goes back to what Brian Kelly was talking about the other day. Whenever he was like, "Oh, well, we're not in the business of buying players." You are. But what you mean, and I think that the more poignant way to say that is really what you just said, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go out there, and this has to do with the defensive lineman, and that defensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken, would have been the highest paid person on LSU's roster had they gotten him out the transfer portal. Jeez, Apple. Boy, that drives me up a wall. It grinds my gears. But I think that what Brian Kelly was really meaning was I'm not going to go and give someone more money that hasn't played it down here than someone who has been here. And that I agree with.
Mm-hmm.
No issues with that whatsoever, right? Because you got to play the game, whether we like it or not. You got to play the game. And it's interesting. Someone earlier, we pulled it up and we talked about it. They asked, maybe it was Lance, who asked if every school stopped paying, would it solve something? And one, I have no faith that would ever happen because y'all know me. I'm a fight fan, right? I love boxing. I love UFC.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why the UFC, I find it very hard that they will ever be able to fix their pay structure. Maya, it's okay, girl. I find it very hard that they're ever going to fix their pay structure because there will be someone who says, oh, well, I don't want to fight for this contract, like Francis Ngannou. He's like, I need to get paid more. There's going to be 50 heavyweights across the world that raise their hand and say, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take the contract. So you very much will have like a roguish organization where there's no way, because think about it. Let's just give Oregon State, for example. Let's say Oregon and Oregon State, they start saying, oh, we're not going to pay for this kid. Well, the second that Oregon doesn't pay, Oregon State's going to be like, hey,
we'll pay for it.
Come on. I know we said we were all lockstep in arms, but you come on over here and I'm going to pay you, right? Like that's just kind of the situation we're in. I need to go back to the door. I don't know if it's something else, but I have someone ringing the doorbell, and Maya is over here. She's in my room now, and she's over here growling and not pleased.
At least she's being a good guard dog.
It's whenever I'm like, if I wasn't on air right now, she would be all too happy to try and open the door for them so that she can get scritches.
Oh.
But if I'm like recording, if I'm in a room, or even my wife, if like my wife is in the shower or something, that's where she's like, no, nobody better come to the door. Nobody better do this. And that's where she gets very like apprehensive. So I'll be right back.
No, you're good. But no, I mean, that's an interesting concept from the standpoint. Like, yeah, would somebody be like, oh, never mind. We are going to pay this kid. We're not going to do what you thought. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to all lock arms and say no. So I think like just getting away from paying, and I like the fact that players get paid. I agree with it. I think to help you guys understand, it takes up a lot of your time. It takes so much time when you're playing football in college. It's a full-time job, especially a Division I school. I mean, you look, I look back from when I start up in summertime in July and going through July. I mean, every single day is packed, even especially when classes start, like it's just so much, there's so much work to be put in. And if you're not putting in the work, you're doing something wrong. Right. So I do agree that the players should be paid, but again, there needs to be something in place that helps kind of minimize this taking advantage as far as the amount of money each team can give away, because that screws it all up. It's basically what we were doing before. It's just a little more public now,
Corey asks, can she get a little screen time? I'll see if she's up to it. She's a little bit lazy, right? She's on her bed and she's just like, she's an old girl.
Yeah. Josh Miller, you know what else takes up a ton of time? Going to school on loans to better your life and working. It does take up a lot of time. That's a true fact. But yeah, I mean, it does take a lot of time for sure. But I will say, like, you know, college football, man, when you play in Division I college football, it's a whole nother world. It is. I mean, I came from like a smaller area too, and somewhat of a smaller school, and from Washington, where maybe like football from a prominent standpoint wasn't nearly as prominent from a high school standpoint as you saw like in Texas or Florida or down south, period. Right.
Well, here it's different, man.
Yeah,
like,
so it's
just
a
flat
different
out
world.
different.
I mean, even as a high schooler, but I mean, that's the thing is it's eye opening. It is a full time career. So
high school's here, man. Like, not even
mm-hmm.
just the football. So whenever I first started doing this, like every so often, just to kind of get out the house, I would sub, right? Like just substitute teach just to get out the house, make a little bit of extra money. There's a high school that just opened up down the road from me. Inside their cafeteria, they had a Pizza Hut, a Taco Bell, a Chick-fil-A. Like, high schools in Texas have fast food restaurants in the cafeteria.
That's insane.
It's ridiculous, man. Like,
That's nuts.
ridiculous.
Josh, I see you're stationed at JBLM, man. Joint Base Lewis McCord. That's right, Tacoma area, DuPont, really. Yeah, man, that's the area I'm from. So 100. I know exactly where you at, dude. I hope you're enjoying today's nasty ass weather. But yeah, no. You know what, Ty? One thing I was thinking about too is we didn't get to get into you know, we did the remember last time we did the offense as far as players leaving, but what we hadn't done, I'm trying to pull it up too, is the defense of who left.
So last time we did offensive line, tight end, wide receiver.
Yeah, I think so. And then I think we're now into defense.
We did quarterback and running backs, so we are into defense.
We should pull that up, man, and do a breakdown of the defense. I'm trying to see where my notes are at on this, because I think that'd be good to check it out and see from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we can do defensive front and linebackers today, because the defensive backs, that's going to take an entire segment.
Yeah, we can go in depth on that one for sure. Sure.
Let me write down some notes real fast.
Yeah. Defense. I mean, in for you guys chat and undefeated, what did you guys think offensively? Did you feel like we lost a lot offensively from the portal standpoint? I want to hear you guys' opinions. Throw them out there in the chat. I would love to hear your guys' overall view, right? If you felt like we lost, what we lost, was it, you know, detrimental? Could we have gained some by keeping? Also, like, how do you think these players fared by leaving? Do you think they're better off or not? Like, throw out your stuff.
I'll start on offense. I don't think Bama lost a whole lot. And I understand if there's any Texas fans, they're going to say Isaiah Bond. And I will tell you, I think Isaiah Bond is very, very, very gifted. I think he's a very gifted wide receiver. But I think that you instantly replace what you lose in Isaiah Bond in Jeremy Bernard. I also think that whenever you look, Ryan Williams as a junior in high school is well further ahead than Isaiah Bond coming out of high school as a senior. Well further ahead in terms of his route tree, in terms of his understanding of how to attack defensive backs. Now, someone could say, well, Isaiah Bond had elite speed. He ran a 10.49 as a senior. Ryan Williams ran a 10.49 as a sophomore. And I'm going to tell you this, in high school, your track times typically get better the more you do it, right? Like, you look at a Caden Durham, who's going to LSU out of Duncanville. He's going to be their running back. Very talented. Very, very, very talented, man. I'm not going to lie. That kid is great. I'm excited for him. But you look at his track times in high school, he was getting faster every single year. So I think that for teaching young people roll tide, I do what I can. Right? I you know, you got to teach them the ways of the roll tide. And Taylor says only loss was Niblack in a way. Taylor, I agreed up until Joe Cox came out and stated that losing Niblack was addition by subtraction. He said that Niblack, they never knew whether he was going to run the right route, that he would just go out there and freestyle. Joe Cox went scorched earth whenever Niblack left. And I was like, holy cow, that must be problematic. Like, that must actually be a problem for him to say that. Because I've never seen a coach come out and be like, we actually gained by losing. And you guys know, I was so excited for Niblack. I think his talent is unbelievable. But for a coach to say that, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That must have been something. So, I don't know. And then we look at it. Josh Quavis has had a more productive college season than Amari Niblack. He had 600 and something yards at Washington in 22.
Did he?
Yeah.
Or was that at his other college? Because I don't know. I think it
was Washington. Let me make sure.
Shoot.
Let me double check. But I think he was banged up this past year.
Yeah, but at the same time, like he was going through, again, the rotation of guys. You know what I'm saying? They were rotating. They had like 2 seniors ahead of them that were rotating in. But I mean, overall, though, Ty, you make a great point with Niblack regarding what Cox said. I mean,
it was Cal Poly. You're right. It was Cal
Poly. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Quavis. I think he's really, really good. I think they wouldn't bring him in if they didn't think he could live up to the standard and what he could do. And what he brings to the room overall is blocking. But when he was in the field and they were able to get him the ball, the few, catches that he did have this last season, I mean, he made plays. I mean, shoot, I think he took 160 yards to the house. So, I mean, that's pretty balling for a tight end, not getting caught, so, but yeah, with Niblack, his talent's amazing, good. I think Isaiah Bond would be another one who had talented, right? I just don't think personality wise or like overall what they want in the system would be his like mindset, just based on kind of how we saw him just bounce the way he did, not even accepting the coach's phone calls. That's kind of I'm not about that, man. I feel like that's pretty disrespectful, to be honest. But offensively, and I will say, losing Brockmeyer, I that sucks. I like having that depth there. I really do. You never know what's going to happen. But overall, what we did do, replacement wise, and what we did bring in, I feel really good on the offensive side for sure.
Yeah, so let's talk about the defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start defensive line and linebackers. That's what we're doing today. Tomorrow we will pick up with the defensive backs. I saw someone ask about Blackshire, right? And yeah, he's back in the portal.
Yep.
Corey, we'll answer this as we get there, right? So on the defensive line, what did you lose? You lost Isaiah Hastings as he goes to Syracuse. Ladies and gentlemen, watch out for Syracuse. I'm not saying they're going to win the ACC, but they're doing some really cool things there.
Yeah.
Nick Williams going up there, fantastic recruiter. You got Fran Brown over there, really solid recruiter. I'm excited about Syracuse. I'm excited about what they're going to bring to the table. So just watch Syracuse. But Isaiah Hastings to Syracuse. Curtis Perry to Virginia Tech. Now, this is another one where it's like, hey, Virginia Tech might be able to make a play for the ACC this year. They are very talented. They are very experienced. They return a lot of experience, and adding in Curtis Perry, who could be in for a boom year for them, right? He could go out there and really shine. I really hope he does. Y'all know I have a lot of family in either upstate New York or Virginia. My wife's husband is a Virginia Tech alum.
Oh, okay.
And I know he's very, very, very excited. And I do hope Curtis Perry goes out there and has himself a year. Monkel Goodwin transfers from Alabama to South Carolina, and then Anquin Barnes to Colorado. So that's what you lose. Once again, Isaiah Hastings to Syracuse, Curtis Perry to Virginia Tech, Monkel Goodwin to South Carolina, and Quinn Barnes to Colorado. My wife, I met my sister's husband. I'm sorry. Did I say my wife? I thought I said my sister's husband.
My wife's husband. Yeah. Yeah. We live in a polygamous relationship.
Oh, no. I thought I said my sister's husband. I apologize.
Oh, man. That's funny. It's all good. It's all right.
Yeah, but my brother-in-law graduated from Virginia Tech. So you lose those 4 on the defensive front. You gain LT Overton. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think our depth on the defensive front is really big. I think the only one I wouldn't have wanted to lose was Curtis Perry, just because I do think he can make a huge impact. It's a bummer, but at the same time, and Smook kind of covered this too on Smook's side. Is you look overall, and we did that video on Coach Sean's channel. Like if you haven't seen it, Coach Sean, who's on here, Bama Football on YouTube, he has his own channel. Just my humble opinion, sports talk or sports. I can't remember which one is it. Ty, do you remember?
I think it's JMHO Sports.
Yeah, JMHO Sports. Great content. We did a video over there. Smook brought it up that Curtis Perry was, he was, one of those last guys on the depth chart, sadly. So this might be a good opportunity for him. I think he's very explosive. He's a stud, so I hate that he leaves, but again, we are so deep at overall, like, I mean, Tim Smith, Tim Keenan, Jamarian Latham, Damian Payne, Jaheim Otis, James Smith, Jordan Renaud, Keon Key, Edric Hill, Hunter Osborne, LT Overton, Jeremiah Beeman, Isaiah Faga, Steve Bumoa. That is a ton of dudes. That's the depth of your D line. That's a lot, man. That is a lot. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like some of these guys just are not going to get a chance to get in rotation, right? So I can't sit there and say it's just like this major hit or whatnot. I think the biggest one you look at is LT Overton coming in versus Curtis Perry. I think LT Overton has a high upside. Sounds like he was doing really, really well in spring ball at that Bandit. And I'm excited to see what he does, man, for sure. Like, I think he's going to be a stud. I mean, he was a highly ranked 5-star dude. I mean, the guy was a beast coming out of high school. And I think now he's back into, his hand in the dirt, a natural position for him instead of the stand-up game that he was playing at A&M. So that's my take.
Yeah, I agree completely. LT Overton, I think he is going to definitely benefit from being in this system. He's going to add some weight to him. And this is a guy that was the former #1 player in his class before reclassifying and coming back. We go to linebacker, where Alabama did not gain anything from the transfer portal, only had 3 losses. You have Sean Murphy, Kendrick Blackshire, Ian Jackson. I'm not going to lie. Losing Blackshire, that was, was a little bit surprised at the beginning, but not at the same time I wasn't. Because whenever you have Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell coming back, like, you're not going to start over those 2.
Yeah.
You're just not. Now, Sean Murphy is probably the one on this list, Jake, where I was like the most disappointed to lose. Yeah. And Sean Murphy goes to Florida State, right? Which that sucks. Kendrick Blackshire to Texas, and now Blackshire back in the portal. And then Ian Jackson to UTSA. Listen, I actually like that for Ian Jackson. I actually really like that for Ian Jackson. Yeah. UTSA, they got a hell of a coach out there. Yep. And so definitely excited to see what he's going to be able to do over there. See, that's one of those portal moves. When I see someone make a move like that, I'm like, oh, you're really about trying to get some playing time. Like, you want to go somewhere and showcase. And I'm all for that, man. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I agree.
When I look at this, though, man, Sean Murphy's the loss.
You think Sean Murphy's your big loss? Okay. So again, I don't necessarily see us. Good player for sure. I like Sean Murphy from a standpoint of where you're picking. But I mean, again, how much will these guys see the field when you look at Justin Jefferson, Jeremiah Alexander running your 2s, Deontay Lawson, Jahad Campbell, and then it sounds like Justin Okoronko or Okoronko. There we go.
Okoronko.
Yeah. And then Sterling Dixon have been making some impact out there too as true freshmen. And then you bring up the fact that we still have the potential, and I saw you guys drop that in there regarding Khalil Jacobs. And that's another one. Like, that's where I would feel happy about adding someone with a little more, just, another guy, one more guy, just to feel that upperclassman rotation a little bit. Someone who's familiar with the system, familiar with Kane Womack, right, and his style. So his type of play calling that can maybe help boost quicker learning in that defensive room. Because I will say, reviewing like the A-Day film, again, I watched it last night. You can tell the offense is kind of, they're getting it down nice and smooth. And I brought this up is because they have a Washington player in every room except the running back room. And you don't need someone in the running back room to explain the concepts from that standpoint. Especially with Gillespie, but you got all those other positions that have a little more technical aspects in this offense. It's super helpful. So yeah, the offense is going to be further along. You could tell the defense on the defensive side in the A-Day game. This is why, like, I'm not as concerned with the defense. Is they, even when you got out there and they were because Washington was kind of, Washington, but the offense was throwing some things at them with different looks and some movements, right? Not like crazy, but just some basics, like change ups here and there. And you could tell for the younger guys, it was a little, there's a little confusion in the communication from the DB aspect, but also even from a defensive line standpoint. You could tell there was some confusion. So it's just going to take a minute for them to get a little better understanding of this overall. That's why I feel good, like going into fall ball and them doing more and more breakdown. And Womack's talked about that. It's like, we're here, we're going to keep progressing. And by the time we start that first game, we'll be ready to roll. Right. So it's all good. Like, I feel good about that. But the linebacker room in general, I don't feel like we necessarily have a loss in there. Could we gain with Khalil Jacobs if he decides to come? 100%. He'd be beneficial.
Yeah. I feel like Sean Murphy has real high upside. Like, Sean Murphy would be competing for spots in, not serious playtime, because you have Jihad and you have Deontay Lawson.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay DeGoat says Lawson and Campbell start hurt way too much. That's every middle linebacker in college football, my man.
Oh, man.
They're all banged up, right? That's the nature of playing that position. Todd says Womack's defense, with returning 19 of 22 starters at South, went 2-4 on the road last year. Yeah, but it was also not Womack calling the defense.
Yeah, I remember that. He states that in an interview. Like, he was involved in, like, maybe some of the schemes and some of the meetings, because as a head coach, that's what you need to be doing and whatnot. But he's not directly calling it, and that's something he really missed. And he wanted to be more involved. That was another thing why he was okay with coming back into a position as a defensive coordinator. So I wouldn't throw that all onto Womack. I think there's a big misunderstanding there, that people thought he was calling the defense as a head coach over at Southern Alabama. Now, I will tell you, when he was the D coordinator at Southern Alabama, though, go look at the improvement. Like, it's impressive. It's really impressive. I had the numbers at one point. I wish I could find them again, and maybe I'll try to do that if we, for tomorrow or whatnot. But it was everywhere he's gone, where he's gone in as the defensive coordinator. Shoot, look what he did at Indiana. You're talking like they're ranked 100th something in the nation, and then he comes in as the D coordinator. They drop all the way down to like 50th in the top 50. And then their turnovers are like top 10 in the nation, top 5, I think. That's freaking unbelievable. So that's why I'm excited, and he's had time and again, perfect it. Now you got better athletes. So
yeah, revisal. As I was talking about my brother-in-law, my wife texts me saying, like, oh, well, if you can go get hot dog buns and stuff, they're doing a cookout at the school later today. And they apparently need some more stuff. Talking about my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, and then get a text from my wife, and I'm looking down, reading that, and then wife was on, it happens. Jay DeGoat says that's why Jacobs is such a huge need. Listen, I think Jacobs would be a big win, but I don't know that it's a huge need, man, because, like, if he comes in here, yeah, he's going to be a great teacher for Campbell and Lawson. But then he's going to be competing for that 2 deep with Justin Jefferson. And I'm not going to lie to you, Jake. I think Justin Okoronkwo after fall camp is going to be real hard to deny.
Yeah.
That guy at A-Day looked like one of the best players on the field, and that was his first game on American soil.
Yeah, man. He's physically just gifted too.
He caught Kendrick Law. Everybody last year was talking about when they said, y'all remember when they were interviewing Bama players, who's the fastest player on the team? You had some Bond, you had some Milroe, you had a lot of Kendrick Law. And Justin Okoronkwo ran him down and pushed him out of bounds. That guy is freaky. And Nick Saban talked about Okoronkwo, and he was saying if this kid was in America, he'd have been a 5-star, like universal 5-star. He's only going to get better. He's just
100.
now learning. Like, that's the thing about Okoronkwo. I don't know that there's a linebacker on this roster that has as high of a ceiling as he does, just because everyone else comes from American high school football. He's coming from Germany. He was a soccer player who converted later in life to football, and he's still learning the game. Like, he's still getting. And then you have Sterling Dixon, you have Jeremiah Alexander. I mean, so don't get me wrong, Jay, to go. I do think you're right. He would be a big win.
Yeah.
But I also don't know if I'd say he's a huge need, right? Like, because for me, at least, and maybe this is a semantics thing, for me, when I think huge need, it's like, oh, well, if we don't get him, we just had a loss.
Yeah.
If he goes to Missouri, I'm going to be like, hey, good for Missouri. But this linebacker room is ridiculous, like top to bottom. Man, so I don't know. Maybe that's a difference of opinion.
No, I think you're right. You're spot on with that. I see Larry Large jumping in. What's up, Lou? How you doing, Henton? And Coach Al, man. You know, I was just going to ask about you, Coach Al. Al Sanders, my man. I've been wondering where you've been at. I haven't seen you jumping in. I was like, man, is everything good with Coach Al? Like, I've been wondering about you, man. I'll have to connect with you outside of this, man, now that I'm back. So, like I said, I know I was supposed to get Twitter up yesterday, so everybody can hit me up and whatnot. I'll get it up. Promise you, I'll get it up today. I'll be back on so you guys can jump on, follow, and we can all do our thing. But spot on. I don't think necessarily it's a dire need with Jacobs, as you're saying, Ty. It's just, I guess it's just more so like nice to have.
It would be very nice to have.
I don't feel like the room necessarily, right, with what we have, what we've seen. I feel good about our linebackers. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know, one area though I will jump into real quick, speaking of linebackers and defensive line, is our edge rushers. Our edge rushers. That's an interesting one. So we don't have anybody that departs from an edge rushing standpoint, right? Besides you have Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell, but those NFL. Okay. Here's the part where you get some new arrivals, Ja'Shawn Ross and Noah Carter. Okay. But our depth there, you got Q Rob, Keanu Kusa, and Yanze Pierre. Strong room with good depth that we'll see some really good rotation too. I think, you know, because you can utilize those guys in different packages.
Yeah, and I think Yanze, he has the ability to be a pass rush fiend, right? Like he has got the ability where if you say go get the quarterback, his first step is ridiculously fast.
Yeah,
like ridiculously fast. So. But this is an area where Alabama's kind of been spoiled. I mean, in one recruiting class, Jake, you had the number 1 edge in the nation, Will Anderson. You had the number 2 edge in the nation, Chris Braswell. And this is all in one recruiting class. And depending on where you looked, you had the number 3 edge in the nation, who is Drew Sanders. Now, the reason why I said depending on where you looked, some places he was rated as an athlete. You had 3 5-star edges in one recruiting class for Alabama. Now, Keon Key was an edge, has since converted to the other side, right? And I know some people have talked about like, oh, well, why would we do that? I think it's his body, man. Like that guy's a big dude.
He is really big.
And that was in high school. Now you get him in a college strength and conditioning room. I personally, I don't mind that transition because I think it was going to be trending there where it's like, hey, we can put some weight on you. You can take the weight, like in terms of your frame, and it's not going to diminish your athleticism. And you can just be a freak over on the other side. But it's going to take some learning. So the edge is really interesting. I'm not sure who I think is going to be able to really lock that position down. That's probably one of the positions on defense I'm most curious about.
Yeah, I think we'll see some different rotation there. There's so many guys. I think Q Rob's is like really in a position to go off. It's a great opportunity. It's the senior year. The guy's been sitting, waiting his turn. I think we're going to really see that opportunity for him flourish. I also will say, like, I think Keon Key is one dude who's just super athletic. His mindset. I mean, the guy just has a just straight killer mindset as far as getting after it. He thinks differently than a lot of guys that I've seen. And then I think, you look, Lser Pierre, super athletic, lengthy, great kind of, again, with him and Coop kind of have a very similar play style, I think, and in their body style and their look. Whereas when you bring in like Rusaw, I mean, you got this physical, this specimen, just a beast, man. And you look at this guy, I mean, he is strong. He's going to get good leverage at 6'1", 6'2", 235.
He can play interior or exterior.
I mean, the dude, very, very strong. I mean, he reminds me a lot of in college. I played with a guy, Donald Butler, who ended up starting middle linebacker for San Diego Chargers. He came in, Donald, man, would throw on, I mean, he'd throw on 275 on incline and rep that like it was nothing. I mean, the guy was built like a Greek god. He was just one of those. Extremely strong, extremely athletic. That's where I kind of look at Q, and I'm like, man, that dude, Rusaw, I'm like, he's dangerous. But then even it'd be exciting to see the development of Noah Carter and Jay-Sean Ross as they get into fall ball and they just put in that work, right? Like, you never know. Because you can never say never. You go in there, you put in the work, you never know how quickly you can pick up on these concepts and develop, right? Like, and maybe see the field. So I like that.
And especially with Noah Carter, man, like,
yeah,
I think
he plays that position so natural,
He's a, Coach Hayes football here on YouTube. I love his channel. Like I've always said this. I love that guy's channel. I think he does an amazing job at breaking down football and making it to where you're going to not only have a great time watching it, you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
And it's funny, man. My mom will actually, because I've told y'all this, like, my dad was college football obsessed, naturally. I mean, he worked in Lincoln, Nebraska for like 8 years on a horse ranch. She said there's nothing to do there except go to the football games. And he was a big Nebraska Cornhuskers fan. I've got VHS tapes of Nebraska games from the 90s, man, that he would record. Like, I've got old school starter Nebraska stuff.
They were good, dude.
Yeah, from when he was there. So really cool stuff. But my mom, if you think I'm college football obsessed, my mom is like me times 20.
Oh, that's cool.
Worse.
That's awesome,
worse than me. She now watches Coach Hayes' channel all the time, right?
Oh, nice.
And she'll be like, yeah, it always cracks me up when he brings in the poor little Timmy. But he was talking about Ryan Williams, and he said something that really made me think about Noah Carter. And he said, Ryan Williams is a football player and everyone else is just playing football. And like, that makes a painful amount of sense, right? And I think Noah Carter is the same way, where he was playing and everybody was playing football, but he was a football player.
Yeah.
And I bring that to you because of this, Jake. When I look at that edge rushing group, there's a lot to love, but I don't know that there's anybody like that will benefit the same way that Noah Carter will. Because the same argument goes for Jalen Mbakwe, by the way.
Okay.
These guys did everything in high school. I mean, Jalen Mbakwe played corner. I mean, you would see him all over that defense. He would play wherever on offense, defense. Noah Carter the same way. Kick return, punt return. I'm tight end, wide receiver, edge rusher. Now you specialize. Now you stay at one area. and all of your effort is at one area. Those guys, I think, like once they get the learning process down, they stand to benefit tremendously from just focusing on one position. It's going to be hard to keep him off the field.
Oh, I 100% agree. And it does help, but and it helps the coaches too, when you get versatile athletes, which we've seen through them recruiting, and who they even brought in regarding the transfer portal, is that when you have versatile athletes and you get guys who kind of have the outside background. Today, young kids focus so much on like one sport, right? And I think that it kind of hurts kids at times, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of, when you get to that level of D1, there's a lot of technical aspects of your position that you can refer in the learning to other sports you've played or other things you've done. Hence why we say like life experience, right? We talk about life experience. I think it should be way more valued than even a bachelor's degree, because if you have good life experience, in the end of the day, you could go in and do a job probably better than someone who has less life experience but only has a degree. Not saying that degree is not important. Degree is very, very important. Not saying that. Okay, education is important, but that life experience is too. And I refer that to life experience in sports. What other things have you done, right, that help you translate and get into these positions as an athlete and help you understand your position faster, right? And then on top of that, like studying film. That is an art. That's something you need to learn. You can't, it's hard if you don't get taught. You sit there and you're watching film. It's hard to be like, what am I watching? What am I supposed to be watching? What are things I should be paying attention to? So really learning to do that. And the quicker you can learn to do that, it benefits you. So it's so much. It's like, it's like reading a book, right? And when you're younger and you start to read books and whatnot, you can gain a lot of knowledge from other people's experiences through reading and going through. Film's the same way. Like film is very, very, very important. So the quicker they can pick up on these things, Noah Carter being that type of athlete he is, having a chance, I mean, when his mom's in here, but listening to her and the type of athlete he was, even as a little kid, he should be able to really pick up these concepts fast, get into the technical aspects. And that's just a matter of continuing to, build yourself. Right. So, with other important traits in college. So, but I will go back real quick to Keon Keeley. You look at Keon Keeley and his body in general, 6'5.5", 6'6", 245. All right.
Out of high school.
Yeah. I mean, who knows where he's at even now, 250, maybe 255. Like I tell you this, like for him, this is a great way of getting yourself into a position to, you understand how to play the stand-up game, right? But you also can put your hand in the dirt. Kind of makes me think a little bit of, we go back, we look at like DeMarcus Ware from the Cowboys, right? It's just someone that comes to mind who is this big dude but could stand up, but also go down and put his hand in the dirt and have a more versatile skill set that allows you to be more marketable, especially after this is done. But I think once he continues to pick up some of these newer traits, newer skill set, newer, I guess, position, and some of the things, his assignments and whatnot, I think once he gets a little more comfortable, we're going to really see him pop off. I think he'll do a great job. So
he's still listed at 6'5", 242, but I can imagine that's
not
100% accurate.
I mean, we've heard Caden Proctor's down to like 320-ish, right? Like, I mean, if that's the case, we're about to see Caden Proctor have an amazing, amazing year. I think he's going to have a great year in general, with Caden Proctor. But yeah,
he had to shed some weight just because they're going to be pulling a lot more than previously. So
shoot, you saw an A-Day, man. You see how much they're moving in A-Day? And that wasn't even like the full spectrum of it. But they were, I mean, you saw some movement, man. I guarantee you, after watching the A-Day film, I can promise you this: some guys got their asses chewed, because I saw some dudes in there who probably should have been downfield blocking in circumstances, who were just standing there, and I'm like, what? And I watched over and over, and I go, dude, Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that. You have to be active in this offense. We call it, when we're doing like SWAT training, it's called like find a job, right? So don't just get stuck in one like zone, right? And just lock in. You have to constantly be looking to find work. Sorry, that's what it was. It's not find a job. Find work, right? So quick, like find work. Keep your feet active. I'm not saying that, Jimmy. Don't you dare put those words in my mouth, Jimmy. Damn it.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Go to college, kids. Get your education. It's important. It's important. But Form View is looking good too. But yeah, find a job or find work, man. Yeah, find a job. That too, man. That you should find a job. That's important. Don't be home. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, like that's a big deal. It's like find work, right? Be active. So
yeah, great point. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our segment. We've been on for over 2 hours. We will be back tomorrow morning to talk about the defensive backs, and hopefully some more information is out about this Florida lawsuit. I'm curious.
I am too, man. 100%. And real quick for tonight, because I know we will be on this evening for those of you who are tuning in. Please remember, for me, Ty, the coaches here, Kyle, and all of our brothers within the different networks, run those thumbs up for us. Become a subscriber if you like our stuff. Come catch, Jake and Ty in the mornings here at Bama Football on YouTube. We have a lot of fun. Obviously, we talk about all sorts of stuff. Sometimes it's random. Sometimes we just go off on, crazy things about not being able to order water online. We have a lot of fun. But
don't get me started.
Oh shit. Sorry. We don't want to keep going for another 30 minutes, but tonight's schedule, just so you guys are aware, it looks like Coach Sean, Coach Jay, and myself will be on tonight. Probably mix it up a little bit. We'll see how it tunes in if I get on midway with Coach Sean and then finish out with Coach Jay or how that do. But tune in. That's going to be 7 p.m. Central Time. That's when that starts. So check it out. Look for that stream. Come join us this evening as we holla for some dollars. I'm just kidding. No, as we talk Bama football and have some fun, man. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight too. So we appreciate you guys.
I have to pay. I just found what court the lawsuit was filed in.
Oh, okay.
I have to pay to get the documents.
Oh, dude, seriously?
Yeah, we're gonna see what we can't get done though. I might just cough up the $30 to pay and get the documents. That way I can read this lawsuit and see what's what. But until then, they will see you tonight. I will see you tonight over on the Bama Standard as well. And then I will be back tomorrow. Yeah.
100 with myself. See you guys later.
Let us introduce you to the third member of the panel, the spinning wheel of doom.
Roll Tide.